Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we take your sources and really unpack the wisdom within. Today, we're diving into a fascinating concept from a source you shared with us, tudoetesi, which translates basically to master thinking. It's a truly intriguing idea.
It absolutely is. What's fascinating here is how this concept really, challenges our conventional notions of success.
Yeah.
It suggests that being a master, well, it isn't about being the smartest person in the room or the busiest.
Right.
It's about a fundamentally different way of thinking. It's about having the vision, maybe to see what others miss, and navigating life's complexities with a surprising simplicity.
That's a crucial distinction, isn't it? You might often wonder why, when faced with similar markets or circumstances, some people seem to lose everything while others quietly find opportunity and become highly successful.
Mhm.
Or why some panic while others just calmly make a move. Our source from the YouTube channel Nan suggests it's not about working harder or even having more resources. It's about thinking differently. But how do you cultivate that kind of thinking? Especially in a world that often pulls us in the opposite direction. That's the real deep dive question we're tackling today.
Precisely. Our mission today is to extract 9 distinct cuts or facets of this master thinking. We want to help you understand not just what these ways of thinking are, but why they matter. And, most importantly, how they can be applied in your own life.
Mm-hmm.
It's about moving you from merely reacting to situations to, well, truly designing your path forward. Okay, let's unpack this.
So if we strip it down to its core, what does this master thinking truly entail? Our source highlights it's not about the sheer volume of your knowledge, right, but the depth of your vision. It's not about knowing many things, but knowing which things not to do. And it's certainly not about speed for speed's sake, but knowing when to go and, maybe more importantly, when to stop. It sounds almost paradoxical in our hyper-connected world.
It does, doesn't it? If we connect this to the bigger picture, you see ordinary people acting by reflex, driven by immediate impulses. Intelligent people act by a well-considered plan,
Okay.
but master thinkers. They act according to the inherent nature of the game itself. They aren't controlled by emotions or swayed by the crowd. Crucially, they don't let the present deceive their view of the future. They might not be noisy or outwardly busy, but when they make a move, it changes everything.
That's a powerful contrast between reacting and designing. What's intriguing about this concept is who exactly qualifies as a master thinker. When I first read this, I wondered if it's just for, millionaires, CEOs, or academic geniuses. But the source points to a surprising truth, doesn't it?
It really does.
They could be a street tea vendor, a tech driver, or a small hair salon owner. Their lives operate like a game where they intuitively understand the rules.
Exactly. And this raises an important question. In a world that often rewards busyness and outward displays of success, how do these seemingly ordinary individuals access this deeper, more strategic way of thinking?
Yeah, how?
The source implies it's about a subtle difference in how they observe, how they choose their moments, and how they think beyond common perception. Think of a chess master who might sacrifice a piece to win the entire game,
Right.
or a business person who chooses to sell something no one else sells but everyone desperately needs. It's about thinking correctly at the right moment, thinking deeply.
Okay, so let's dive into our first principle of master thinking. This one's all about seeing what others simply overlook. Masters don't necessarily move faster, they just take a step earlier. At the exact turn, everyone else just glided past. It begins not with quickness, but with meticulous perception.
To illustrate this, the source shares a classic example. When a customer leaves, an ordinary person might immediately assume, oh, my price is too high.
Right, the obvious conclusion.
But a master thinker, however, would shift their inquiry. They'd ask, why did they leave without complaining about the price? That subtle shift in the question leads them to the essence. Perhaps it wasn't the price at all, but a lack of a compelling reason to stay. This kind of thinking zeroes in on those small details, unnoticed gaps, or fleeting emotions that hold big clues for entirely new opportunities.
And a striking real-world example from the source really brings this to life. It's the story of Ms. Njuet, a banh mi vendor in Govap, Saigon. For almost 10 years, she pushed her cart thinking, she couldn't get rich this way. Then one day, 2 young people stopped to photograph her cart, saying it looked retro and cute. Now, most people would take that as a simple compliment and move on.
Sure, yeah. This is a nice comment.
But for Ms. Njuet, it was a signal, a real light bulb moment.
That night, she couldn't sleep. She kept thinking, if her old cart was a highlight for photos, why not lean into that? So she renovated it, repainted it in vintage pastel colors, added sparkling yellow lights,
Oh, nice.
wrote the menu in chalk on a charming wooden board, hung old Saigon photos around it. She basically transformed her simple food cart into a mini photo set.
And the result?
Well, from then on, customers flocked to her, not primarily for the banh mi, which was good, mind you,
Right.
but to check in and take photos. Once they were there, they'd buy a loaf while posting their stories. Miss Guillet didn't need to cut prices or advertise. She had created a destination.
Wow.
As she put it, people don't come here because they're hungry. They come for an emotion. The banh mi is just an excuse. Miss Guillet's story isn't just about renovation. It's about that profound insight that sometimes the true path to success isn't doing more, but maybe reframing what you already have.
Turning an unnoticed detail into an irreplaceable landmark.
Exactly. It's about seeing what's right there, but hidden in plain sight.
That insight about subtle perception then naturally leads us to the critical role of timing. Our second principle suggests that not everyone who acts first is the winner. The winner is the one who acts at the right moment.
Yeah, this is key.
In our fast-paced world, you see people who seem unhurried, not pushing their way through the crowd, yet when they finally appear, everything seems perfectly set for them.
It's almost like they know something others don't, but it's not luck, is it?
No, the source says it's timing as a strategic mindset. The ordinary person reacts emotionally, jumping into opportunities or following what others do, often struggling to distinguish short-term fads from long-term trends. But masters,
Yeah.
what do they do differently?
Masters observe, they analyze, and they patiently wait, striking only when everything is perfectly aligned. Not too early,
Not too late.
but just right. Think of a chess player waiting for the opponent's misstep to deliver that decisive counterblow. This wisdom is perfectly exemplified by Mr. Tuan, a coffee shop owner in Nakrang. He opened his first cafe in 2019, invested heavily, but then COVID hit, tourism collapsed, and he lost everything.
Oh, tough timing.
Really tough. After the 2022 recovery, all his friends urged him to reopen immediately, eager to capitalize on the returning tourists. But he didn't.
He didn't rush in, even with the pressure. What did he do instead?
Mr. Tuan observed. For 6 months, he watched how tourists behaved, what they now preferred. Not big, bustling spaces, but simple, private experiences that could be easily shared on social media.
Ah, the Instagram effect.
Exactly. They wanted a chill setting, a beautiful cup for photos, not a long, complicated menu. Only in October 2022, when the initial rush of reopenings had subsided and the market signals were clear, did he launch his new cafe.
So he waited for the dust to settle.
He did. It was smaller, minimalist, with a strong focus on photo-friendly spots, warm lighting, and a very simple menu, just 5 items, each with a check-in keyword like wind or sea.
Clever. And how did that work out?
Within 3 months, his cafe, Vero, was everywhere on travel pages. His investment was lower than others, but his profit was triple. He simply said, "I'm not better than them. I'm just a bit more patient."
Wow. Mr. Tuan's story teaches us that true leverage often comes not from speed, but from strategic patience.
Yeah, it's about waiting until the conditions naturally tilt in your favor, then acting decisively to meet an unarticulated need.
Building on that idea of finding your unique angle, our third principle encourages us to think opposite to the crowd. It challenges the immediate, obvious line of thought. An ordinary person asks, how can I make money? A master asks, how can I create value without needing money first?
This isn't about being rebellious just for the sake of it,
Right, not just contrarian.
No, it's about inverting the problem structure to uncover its true essence. When most people think one way, a master asks, what if we went the exact opposite way? What would truly happen then? Instead of asking, how do I sell this product? They ask, why do people have to buy this product or even this idea? Instead of building a product, they start by building demand. This mindset allows you to design your outcomes rather than being dependent on resources or luck.
That's a powerful shift in perspective. This unconventional thinking is perfectly captured by the story of Ha, a marketing student in Canton. His family struggled, he had no capital, no connections for a good job, but he did have a unique, almost obsessive habit.
Which was?
Comparing prices in traditional markets versus supermarkets.
Okay, interesting niche.
One day, Ha posted a TikTok video comparing the price of eggplant. 30,000 VND in the market, 42,000 VND in the supermarket. Why the difference? He asked in the video. It went viral. Over 100,000 views.
Just from comparing eggplant prices.
Yeah. He continued with other comparisons. The cheapest toilet paper, dish soap brands. He needed no capital, no products, no storefront. What he built was priceless. Community trust through transparency.
That's fascinating. Building an asset without any money down, essentially.
Exactly. Within 2 months, mini marts and supermarkets started contacting him. Now, the obvious move would be to take advertising money, right? Become a KOC, a key opinion consumer, promoting products.
Sure. Seems logical.
But Hine chose to advise on pricing and act as an intermediary for consumers. He said, I don't do KOC, I filter for others. While others sold products, Ha sold transparency. And he earned money from the trust he built by just telling the truth.
So he monetized the trust itself.
Precisely. Ha's journey reminds us that when your thinking is truly different, the market will create a unique place for you, often where there seemed to be no opportunity at all.
That leads us perfectly into our fourth principle, deep-level thinking. It's about asking why, before you even think about asking how. As our source puts it, the skilled person finds a way to do something, but the master finds the reason why it needs to be done in the first place.
That makes so much sense. I mean, how many times have we or someone we know jumped straight to how to fix something, only to realize later we were solving the wrong problem entirely?
Exactly. It happens all the time. Many people fail, not from laziness or lack of ability, but from asking the wrong questions. When faced with a problem, most immediately jump to, how do I fix this?
The quick fix mentality.
Yeah. They try to patch things up, but often end up more tangled because they only treat symptoms, never touching the root cause. Master thinking doesn't start with how. It starts with the deeper, simpler question. Why? Why are customers really leaving, even with a good product? Why aren't employees giving their best despite good pay?
The why question forces you to dive deeper, doesn't it? To find the hidden rules instead of just blaming circumstances, to adjust the core instead of just repairing the surface.
Precisely. And this ability to peel back layers and see the essence behind the phenomenon is illustrated vividly by Mr. San, a barbershop owner in Hanoi. For over 20 years, he was skilled, his prices were fair, yet customers came and went. He initially thought it was competition, or maybe a need for more advertising.
The usual suspects.
Right. One afternoon, he did something radical. He closed his shop and spent the day visiting 6 other barbershops within a 2-kilometer radius. Not to learn techniques, though.
Oh, then why?
To experience them as a customer himself. He noted 3 key things. Some cut fast, but didn't ask what the client really wanted. Some talked blandly, leaving clients silent. And some cut well, but customers still felt, well, empty when leaving.
Empty. That's an interesting observation.
Isn't it? Mr. Than realized customers didn't just come for a haircut. They came to relieve stress, to be heard, to feel comfortable and cared for. He has spent 20 years perfecting the cut, the how, but forgotten to make them feel it was the right place for them emotionally, the why.
Wow, what a revelation for Mr. Thane after 20 years. It really highlights how we can overlook the simplest, deepest needs of our customers or even friends when we're too focused on the surface task.
I'm sitting here thinking about my own interactions and how often I might miss the why behind someone's behavior. So what did he do with this new insight? He completely changed his service model. Before cutting, he genuinely asked about their mood and what they wanted beyond just a style. During the cut, he'd chat gently, actively listening. Afterwards, he'd give personalized hair care advice.
So building real connection.
Exactly. He even redecorated his shop. Fewer mirrors, more plants, warm lighting to create a more relaxing atmosphere. In less than 2 months, his returning customer rate doubled, and clients started referring each other.
Incredible.
One young customer after a cut smiled and said, "It's not just my hair that's more beautiful. I feel my mood is better too." Mr. Than knew then he had found the right answer. His journey shows us that true mastery comes not just from perfecting the how, but from deeply understanding and addressing the why behind people's needs.
That story really drives home the power of focused intention, and that leads us beautifully into our 5th principle, when less is more. Our source asserts that not everyone who does more earns more. Often those who earn more are the ones who do right more.
Yeah, that's a big one.
We live in a world where being busy is often seen as a badge of honor, right? But doing a lot doesn't always mean doing the right thing, and quantity can really dilute your energy and focus.
Absolutely. Master thinkers aren't afraid of doing less. They're afraid of doing things incorrectly or maybe doing too much of the wrong things. Their efficiency isn't measured by hours worked, but by the value created per hour and by the long-term impact of the specific tasks they choose to focus on.
So it's about leverage, not just effort.
Exactly. While ordinary people might try to solve 100 problems superficially, masters choose just 3 perhaps, but execute them perfectly to the end. This isn't laziness, It's recognizing that resources, time, energy, focus are finite, and that focus is the new competitive advantage.
This powerful concept is perfectly illustrated by Miss Tran, a cosmetics shop owner in Bien Hoa who almost went bankrupt because she was, ironically, doing too much. Her philosophy was, if it sells, sell it.
Ah, the stock everything approach.
Totally. She stocked absolutely everything. Skincare, makeup, supplements, perfumes, nail polish, even pet shampoo. Her store was just a massive warehouse.
I can picture the chaos. How did that work out?
Well, initially, sales were okay, but chaos quickly ensued. Customers were overwhelmed by choice, inventory piled up, capital got tied up, and staff couldn't possibly advise properly on hundreds of products.
Makes sense.
Then, Ms. Tran made a shocking discovery by actually looking at her numbers. 80% of her revenue came from just 12 products.
Wow, the classic 80-20 rule in action.
Exactly. And 70% of her inventory, her tied-up capital, was from the other 80-plus products that weren't really moving. So she dared to do what no one expected.
Which was?
She removed 70% of her stock, kept only 15 core products.
That's a radical move. Must have felt scary.
I bet. But what happened? Her store immediately became tidier, her staff became genuine experts in those specific products, inventory costs plummeted, and customers found it incredibly easier to choose.
So less choice actually led to better results.
Yes. Within 3 months, her profit increased by 40%. Even though revenue only slightly changed, her profit soared because she didn't need to sell a lot. She just needed to sell right. As she told her staff, we don't need to sell like a supermarket. We just need to be like a friend who chooses the best for our customers.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
Ms. Tran's story highlights that abundance can be a trap. True success often comes from the courage to strip away the superfluous and focus intensely on what truly delivers value.
That leads so well into our 6th principle, peak minimalism. It's the idea that the higher you go, the simpler you need to be. Newcomers might think they need many tools and techniques, but true masters often need only one knife that cuts everything cleanly.
That's a great analogy. The source highlights that simplicity isn't about lacking, it's about trust. Trust in your core skills, trust in your principles. Minimalism isn't about removal for its own sake, it's about reaching the core essence.
So it's distillation, not deprivation.
Precisely. Masters don't hoard knowledge or information. They distill their thinking down to fundamental principles. This allows them to operate lightly, quickly, and effectively. Like a master chef who uses just a few sharp knives and the right amount of seasoning to create memorable dishes.
This abstract concept becomes wonderfully tangible with the story of Uncle Hoa, a street locksmith in Da Nang. For over 30 years, this man, over 60, has been the undisputed go-to person for jammed doors or lost keys.
Okay, a local legend.
Kind of. What's unique, he has no shop, no sign, no smartphone, and no large toolbox like other locksmiths. Just a small, unassuming setup.
Really? How does he manage complex jobs then?
A reporter once asked him exactly that. Aren't you afraid of lacking tools for complex jobs when you carry so little? Uncle Ho had just smiled and replied, those who need complex installations call others. But those who want quick, exact fixes for what's broken when needed, they call me.
So he's niched down to the essentials.
Completely. His old cloth bag contained only a simple lock measurement set, picks, a wrench, a spanner, and a few small homemade tools. He didn't carry much, but his operations were precise, and he understood the fundamental structure of every lock type. He didn't install new devices, he made old ones run like new.
That's true mastery, deep understanding. Minimal tools.
It's incredible. Uncle Ho didn't advertise or use social media, yet customers were passed on by word of mouth all day long. He explained, I don't go to many places. I just go to the right places. I don't fix many things. I just fix the right things.
Wow. Uncle Ho's approach is a masterclass in peak minimalism. It shows that true expertise isn't about accumulating more, but about distilling your knowledge and tools to the absolute essentials.
And then executing those essentials with profound precision and understanding. Less, but sharper.
Continuing with that theme of deliberate action, our 7th principle is all about strategic thinking. It's the powerful idea that strategy isn't about merely reacting to the present. It's about controlling the future from right now. It's about seeing 3 steps ahead before taking just one.
That sounds like playing chess, where you're always thinking several moves ahead. But how does that apply to, say, daily life or a small business beyond a boardroom?
You're spot on with the chess analogy. But strategy isn't always about a grand, complicated master plan or elaborate charts. Often, it's the ability to discern the hidden path amidst the chaos. Ordinary people react to immediate moves, thinking and acting quickly, but often falling into the trap of their own haste.
reacting instead of responding thoughtfully.
Exactly. Masters, however, always consider at least 3 steps ahead. If I do this, what will happen? Who benefits? Who takes the risk? What changes if I do nothing? They play not just to win, but maybe to win without having to fight. In business, strategy isn't always quick profit. Sometimes it's about controlling your fundamental position.
This strategic vision is brought to life vividly by the story of Mr. Lamb, a vegetable vendor in a provincial market in the Mekong Delta. He started by selling clean vegetables from Dalat, fresh produce, good prices, attracted a lot of customers.
Sounds like a good start.
It was, but it significantly annoyed the longtime vendors already in the market. They saw him as a threat.
Market politics.
Totally. They colluded, raised his supply prices, badmouthed him, and even pressured market management. The result: he lost his stall after just 3 months.
Ouch. So what did he do? Fight back?
Instead of reacting with anger or legal action, Mr. Lamb chose silence. He spent 2 full weeks just observing the entire market's operation. Peak hours, customer movements, neglected corners, shopping habits.
Gathering intelligence.
Right. He then didn't reopen a stall inside the market. Instead, he bought a small pushcart. From 5:30 a.m., he strategically positioned himself at the entrance of the market right where customers park their bikes.
Outside the main fray. Interesting.
He sold just 3 essential vegetables, water spinach, bok choy, and amaranth at soft prices and high quality. No need for huge selection.
Making it easy for people before they even entered the competition zone.
Exactly. He wasn't competing with the stalls because he wasn't in the market. He stood outside, where people could choose before even stepping in. It was a brilliant pivot.
So how did that work out for him?
Within a month, his revenue doubled compared to when he had a stall. People started calling him Mr. Lamb, the head of the market. No one could stop him because he wasn't playing on their field anymore.
He changed the game.
He did. Mr. Lamb summarized it perfectly. I don't need to fight to keep a position in the market. I just need to choose the right position outside the market. His story teaches us that true strategic advantage often comes not from defeating others on their terms, but from creating an entirely new game where you already have the winning position.
That kind of thinking really shifts your perspective on competition, doesn't it?
It really does. And it leads into our 8th principle, which is a powerful one. In business, the winner isn't necessarily the best, but often the one who survives longest to keep playing.
Endurance.
Yeah. We're often taught to be fast, breakthrough, disrupt, but rarely told that in long games, victory often comes from the sheer ability to survive setbacks.
It's a critical, often overlooked truth. Master thinkers understand that before even thinking about winning, you must ensure you don't lose. While others rush to expand, they prioritize securing cash flow. When others go all in on a perceived opportunity, masters are already preparing an exit strategy or a contingency plan.
Always having a plan B or C.
Right, they keep a safety buffer for difficult times. This calculated perseverance is the true foundation for spectacular breakthroughs later on. An experienced person knows that just not losing is half the battle won.
This survival mindset is perfectly embodied by Mr. Dat, a 32-year-old who left a tech job to open a gaming cafe in Saigon. He invested over 600 million VND high-end machines, modern space. Had a grand opening, saw high revenue initially. He thought he'd made it.
The initial honeymoon period.
Exactly. But within 4 months, everything crashed. Electricity prices soared, rent was high, student exam periods meant fewer customers, a technical issue led to data loss, revenue just plummeted, bank debts started piling up.
A perfect storm. What did he do?
He panicked, wanted to borrow more money to stem the bleeding. But a friend in finance pulled him out of his illusion, asking a really tough question. What are you trying to win with? If you don't have a plan to survive for the next 6 months, winning means nothing.
Wow. That's a sobering reality check.
It totally reframed his thinking. So Mr. Dat sat down for the first time in months to seriously analyze his cash flow. He meticulously reallocated costs, cut auxiliary services, automated processes where he could, and narrowed operating hours to only peak times.
Focusing on survival, not just growth.
Exactly. This new plan didn't promise big wins, but it saved him from dying. 6 months later, he was still in business, and as the market slowly recovered, he started making a profit. Slowly but surely.
He made it through the bottleneck.
He did. He recounted later, I don't need to be lightning fast anymore. I just need to survive long enough until the tides turn in my favor. Mr. Dat's experience is a powerful reminder that in any long game, whether it's business or life, the greatest victory often lies not in winning early, but in simply enduring, staying on the road.
That's so true. To reach the finish line, you must first stay on the road.
Our final principle, number 9, beautifully ties everything together. Master thinkers don't necessarily learn more than you, they just learn what's needed and, crucially, know when to think at the right time.
Yeah, this cuts through the noise.
In a world overflowing with information, advice, courses, it's so easy to fall into the illusion that more learning automatically equals more success. Information overload is real, but our source tells us that's simply not the reality for masters.
It's really not. Master thinking comes not from the quantity of knowledge, but from selection. It's not about trying to learn everything, but knowing what you need to learn, when you need to learn it, and for what precise purpose.
Laser focus.
Exactly. No one can be good at everything, but anyone can be good at exactly what they need for their specific path. Masters don't chase every trend. They observe, choose deliberately, dive deep into what matters, and then apply that knowledge effectively. They learn what truly serves their life strategy, not just to appear smart, but to make wise decisions and act with impact.
This deeply personal journey is illustrated by Hong, a 28-year-old who chased countless get-rich courses but ultimately returned to learning herself. She was an office worker in Saigon, dreaming of independent income.
A common dream.
Right. So she immersed herself in courses, content creation, online startups, investing, psychology, you name it. She amassed a vast digital collection of PDFs, videos, mind maps. Yet, after a whole year of this, she was still floundering, completely overwhelmed by all the information.
Drowning in knowledge but thirsty for results.
Perfectly put. One rainy afternoon in a cafe, she opened her very first notebook from years ago and found a line she'd completely forgotten writing. If I could only choose one thing to pursue for the next 5 years, what would it be?
That core question.
She cried. Not because she didn't know the answer, but because for an entire year she had learned so much, yet completely forgotten this core guiding question for herself. It got lost in the noise.
That's a powerful moment of clarity.
It was. From that day on, Huang did something radical. She deleted all her learning apps, course groups, financial news pages. She spent days simply writing and rereading her own thoughts, noting what she had done well in the past, found genuinely interesting, and what had created real value for her.
A digital detox and deep self-reflection. What did you discover?
She discovered an old, small blog series she had abandoned years ago, which had quietly attracted over 2,000 followers on its own.
Something she already had but had overlooked.
Exactly. She returned to it, writing consistently each week. There was no overnight explosion, no advertising blitz. She just wrote and, in time, linked it to products her readers genuinely asked her to recommend or create.
Organic growth based on real connection.
Right. 6 months later, her blog had nearly 20,000 monthly reads, and she began selling self-designed financial thinking notebooks. She explained, "It's not that I learned anything new, I seriously relearned myself." Huang's journey reminds us that learning right isn't about being good at everything. It's about the deep self-awareness to know what you truly need and where you truly are, then pursuing only that with focused intent.
Learning what matters, when it matters, for your specific path.
What a profound deep dive this has been. Master thinking. It isn't some mountain to conquer or a magic trick for overnight success, is it? It's really a journey that begins with daring to see differently. These 9 principles aren't one-size-fits-all solutions, but maybe more like guiding lights.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And if you look closely, you'll see their common thread.
Yeah.
They don't necessarily propel you upward quickly.
Mm.
They take you deep. Deep into questions, deep into the essence of things, and perhaps most importantly, deep into yourself. And it's from that depth, I think, that you can truly rise sustainably. Distinguishing those fleeting wins from enduring success, which was really the core question we set out to explore today.
In this world, it often seems the noisy get noticed first, the busy are praised first, and the outwardly successful are hailed first. But time filters, doesn't it, and the market tests. Ultimately, it seems only those who think right, endure, and thrive.
Remember these contrasts we've explored. When others only see the surface, you choose to look at the hidden depths. When people frantically strike, maybe you choose to wait for the right moment. When others follow the crowd, you choose a different path. When people try to understand the surface, you delve to the root cause.
Ask why.
Exactly. When others do too much, you choose to do less but hit the mark perfectly. When people complicate things, you simplify. When people react to the present, you strategically design the future.
See 3 steps ahead.
Right. When people want to win immediately, you choose not to lose first. Survive. And when people try to learn everything, you choose to learn only what's truly needed for your path.
It boils down to this. You don't need to be better than others. You just need to think better than your past self. Master thinking isn't exclusively for geniuses. It's for those humble enough to learn, sober enough to observe, and maybe persistent enough to stick with it.
Well said. And don't feel you need to adopt all 9 of these principles at once. That would probably violate the less is more principle.
That point.
Maybe just choose one that really resonates with where you are right now. Go truly deep with it, practice it, and just watch how other doors might begin to open.
We hope this deep dive into master thinking has given you some valuable insights to mull over. What stands out to you?
Yeah, consider which of these ideas resonates most with your own challenges or aspirations right now, and perhaps explore that one principle a little deeper on your own this week. See what happens.